Earlier today, the Buffalo Bills held their introductory press conference for newest head coach Joe Brady. And also during that press conference, we heard from Brandon Beane, and the pair did speak with the media for around an hour and on the expectations that are coming into this job for Joe Brady following the years of success for the team. Brady says he is ready to face them head on.
I didn't take this job to shy away from expectations. I'm embracing it, I'm understanding it, and I'm meeting it full on. I know what I signed up for, and we're going to embrace it because no one rises to low expectations. I want what this city wants.
You can listen to the entire press conference up at our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. We also got some injury news today. Quarterback Josh Allen spoke with the media following that press conference, did confirm he got a procedure done on his foot, though it should not ultimately affect him for any of the Bills' offseason programs. And tight end Dalton Kincaid is not going to have surgery on his knee. He was dealing with a PCL injury much of this season. And also some bonus news on Kincaid. Brandon Beane did hint the team is going to be picking up his fifth-year option. Do stay tuned. We'll get more on what we heard today when Sal Capacio joins the show at 5 p.m. Over to the Sabres. Game night tonight. They are hosting the Kings at 7, looking for their 5th win in a row. Pre-game at 6. Both, of course, going to be right here on WGR. Some roster notes. Goaltender Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is going to be out at least a week after picking up that lower body injury against Toronto. And then in net tonight, it is expected to be Alex Lyon, who's going for a team record 10th straight win. There are also 14 other games tonight in the league. Some matchups to keep an eye on. Also at 7, the Bruins host the Flyers, and Colorado, they're in Montreal versus the Canadiens. 7:30, Red Wings host the Capitals. 8 p.m. sees the Panthers in St. Louis versus the Blues. And then at 10, to wrap up your night, the Maple Leafs, they're out west to take on Seattle. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
We got to move forward. I think it starts with a new energy, a new mentality, and a new vision. A new energy that I got to drive every single day.
It's Mike Schopp.
I'm going to bring the energy every single day. I believe people are going to feed off of that. I truly believe in being the temperature, right? I'm the weather, and they're going to feel it every single day. A mentality. I believe in everything about these guys right here. And they got to play us and not the other way around.
And the Bulldog.
I am fired up to announce the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Joe Brady.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Who's ready to run through a wall? By the way, don't run through a wall. Don't even try. You're going to lose.
It would hurt.
You're not going to run through
Unless
a wall.
it's one of those like cartoon sitcom prop walls that's just ready to be broken because you know that's the bit.
It's automatic.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What did you think today?
I have never heard "I am the weather" before. I feel like we have sat through how many hundreds of these things in our lifetimes.
Can we be mad at somebody who's claiming to be the weather?
I don't know. I'm not sure I love it, but I just think it sounded pretty original to me. I don't know if he copped that from, somewhere some news conference that I didn't pay attention to. I don't know, but I am the weather really stood out to me. I think a couple things. I'm glad they stopped using the word aligned.
Alignment, holy cow!
After
word of the year.
The first few minutes of the thing,
Four times in
it
like
was just
6 minutes,
just bombarded with alignment.
And
I was also, just for our sakes, I was very nervous for the first few minutes that we were going to spend the rest of our lives talking about how Joe Brady broke down and cried at the news conference where he was introduced as the Bills' new coach. And I say that as someone who can get overly, almost inappropriately emotional talking about the tragically hip, right? I'm not judging him. I'm just saying, as new football coach of the Bills, I'm glad he didn't actually break down.
You cry at everything.
Because I do. Because I feel like we would have never stopped talking about that.
I don't know. Really?
I
People
think,
would criticize him?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad then, too.
So there's not a deep analysis on what was said. I don't know how much of that is really called for. He came across as sincere to me. Maybe a little too excited. Like, just there was a lot of energy there. But that doesn't have to be, that's not necessarily a criticism. It was just, there was a lot of He was just very excited.
Genuine.
Yeah, right. Sincere. So that was largely it. I mean, the nuts and bolts, like what was specifically said, I mean, about the team and what the direction's going to be. I guess the most notable thing would be that he talked about wanting to be what sounded to me like very different on defense than what they've been.
What's interesting about that, though, is has any new coach ever said different in any sort of detail about defense? Like, has any coach ever talked about the importance of being conservative?
No, that's a good point.
Always the same. It's always aggressive. Every coach they say they want to be more aggressive on defense. So I don't know what to do with that. They all say the same thing. Yeah, I thought he did fine today.
One other thing off the top here that I want to say before we get into the weeds of it, if we are going to eventually get into the weeds of it, I'm glad that someone in the room finally was adult enough to come across as sincere talking about what Sean McDermott meant to him in the organization. Like, it took the new coach to pull that off. I mean, both Pegula and Bean took their turns at that, but it never – everything else that was said sort of pointed – a very uncomplimentary light at McDermott from those two men, I thought, at Wednesday's news conference. But I thought Brady, that's part of the sincerity. I thought Brady came across extremely believable and appropriately so. But it took, a week and a half for someone in the organization to hit the right note on the former coach.
If this is in the weeds, so be it. Earlier, Brady had talked, and he started to lose his composure, and the room started to applaud. And that wouldn't have been like Sal, but that would have been, the players and
families,
the staff
that were there. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, like they sort of picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went into his McDermott spiel, and he stopped and went for the water, and it was silent. Like, not even the players would have applauded him for complimenting. What's going on with this? But yes, that probably needed to happen. It seemed appropriate and overdue.
I thought that was a savvy pause by him, too. Like, he made that point, stopped and drank water, and then changed the subject.
Nobody clapped.
I know. There was an opportunity to clap. I guess I didn't think about that. I just liked what he said, and I liked that he left room either for some, acknowledgement of what he'd said, or at least to not just barrel into, whatever the next thing was. It's like, I'm going to take a drink, and now, okay, onward.
For all the clapping McDermott did over the years.
Nobody clapped.
I mean, not even the players would have wanted to just politely, I don't know. The press conferences are weird when the players are in it because there's applause, but it's really, at least somewhat for the media, and the media would never. But they all did congratulate him, which I don't think is a problem. I thought he did fine. It was my first really real time sitting down with him today. And it doesn't surprise me from today that he would interview well. First of all, he's tall. People like tall people. You have an advantage if you're tall. He's got a good name. He's got a good face.
Where's that been all my life?
Well, I mean, you're doing okay. Like he's got the good.
It's just hard to find clothes.
He's tall. He's got the good name. He's got the good face. Like he's got the traits that subconsciously at least make you more popular. Like and he talks a lot. And he knows all the things to say. Like he just my struggle with Brady in the media space has been I don't feel like I ever really learn anything. He's just telling me everything. He's firing everything at me. If it's a question about how Allen played, it'll be about Allen, but also coaching, but also pass protection, but also weapons, but also defensive scheme, but also weather. Like he packs every possible aspect to a question into his answer. And I'm sort of out of breath afterward. Like, what did I find out here? I think there was a lot of that today. I feel like I was mostly right for having that opinion of him before today, because most of the press conference was no details. A couple of guys tried, but really just kind of generalities and a little bit of philosophy stuff. But I don't know. The defense point is right. I think defense might have gotten him the job. Whatever it is he actually wants to do. I mean, clearly they broke up with McDermott. And not all of it was because he didn't want to use Keon Coleman or something. Like, Some
Right.
of it was philosophy, and Brady seemingly came equipped with ideas for the defense. He was right. This makes sense. How he pointed out, when you're an offensive coordinator, you think about defense all the time.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So,
Yeah, what's hardest to play against?
yeah, he might have won the job right there. Even without Pagula talking, there was another sort of awkward Pagula thing when Bean said how, Terry kind of offered him the job in the second call. And Bean's like, I have to talk to his agent first. And then Brady got a question about it. I don't know why he needed to be asked this, but he got a question about finding out. And he basically said the same thing happened, where Terry said it.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure that's how it's supposed to work, but okay, whatever. Alignment, if you're stuck on the reason McDermott is gone being mostly that they didn't agree on certain personnel decisions, well, your opinion was augmented today. You're reinforced today by this alignment, which I don't know if that's ever been a football press conference word other than like how you actually line up.
Yeah.
Alignment. I don't even know how important it is. You'd want it if you were in the job. Anybody would. You'd want to see eye to eye, like you and I do, right? You want to see eye to eye with the person you're working with. It's just easier and safer that way, but not always better.
Right.
Sometimes it's better to be challenged by somebody that doesn't. But it can get.
He did get around. Brady
sticky.
did get around to elaborating on that at one point, saying like just
It doesn't mean agreement.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything. It just means but I'm assuming that everyone was in agreement about what the goals were before. So I don't know. I'm not hung up anymore on. I mean, I made my point about Brady finally being the adult in the room and appropriately saying something about McDermott. But I'm sort of done. They've done what they've done. They handled it the way they handled it. I didn't like any of it, or most of it. But I'm glad that we're through the explanations and because you can overdo how much you're lauding the guy that just got fired too. So I think Brady hit the right note today, and I feel like that sort of closes the book.
I am interested to see how he evolves as a communicator, and if it does get, and it usually does for everybody at some point, if it does get to be like sort of a difficult moment, how he might sound. Like at one point, this is the stuff where I just roll my eyes. This is like, again, how he's just going to tell you everything. Every base is covered every time. When they play well, it's because of them. When we fail, it's because of me. Come on. Really? I mean, coaches, if they think of it, they really just seem to feel like they can't lose for that. McDermott did a lot of that. Mm-hmm. It starts with me,
right?
All of this. And sometimes they might even mean it. But usually it's just like, let me just get this out of the way. It's my fault. Now
I want to be heard taking responsibility. Right.
When they play well, it's because of them. When we fail, it's because of me. Come on, dude. Now, you don't really mean that.
I hope not.
I mean, humility is a nice trait.
Yep.
And I maybe he has a lot of it. Again, I think he's believable, mostly in terms of how he comes off. But that's going to get old if everything is my fault, and you really just can't get any. See, I like this about Bean, and Bean's in the crosshairs now because of the thing with Jeremy and the year that they just had and he just had. But he's one of these guys. I think he wants to tell you, and sometimes that comes off as, well, it's not your fault. But, he might not think it is. Mm-hmm. And even today, he got a couple of questions, and he took them in different places, things you knew he just wanted to say. He went back to his Carolina, and people make judgments
being
about
judged
you.
about where you started, and they always view you as that person.
Yes, and I appreciate he's more forthcoming in that way. He's also, I think, very dialed into what is being said about him. I mean, when you're like that and you're ready to go on topics that did not come up, you just, I have the microphone today. My boss isn't sitting next to me with his own microphone, and I just want to, talk a little bit. I like that. I appreciate that about him. This is not to be duplicitous either, because I recognize that, and I have had to say this many times over the years to people who question me on it. I recognize they don't have the same agenda or interest that I do. Their goals are different than mine. I'm looking for interesting content. I'm looking for insight. I'm looking for to open up the curtain a little bit, and they're trying to keep it close.
They're trying to tell you as little as possible while also making you love them. Right? I mean, that's the goal of any news conference. I mean, that's why I made the point last week how they talked for almost an hour last week, and all they did was hurt themselves. That is a failure. Whatever you think about parsing through individual points that were made or how things were said, if largely the majority takeaway from you having an no commercial interruption opportunity on radio and TV in your market, and all you do is aggravate people, like, that's a failure. Today was not that. Today was, what the new coach news conference should be, which is, we're, as much as, somebody out there that maybe doesn't like you or me might think we're ghouls just waiting for these people to step in it so we can clobber them. Like, your natural disposition, I think, on a day like today is to sort of, okay, I feel it, I got it, I see it, I can believe this.
The positives.
Yeah, like go all right, let's go get them. I'm not running through any walls or anything, but
don't.
Sure. I like the energy. I like the sincerity, and I like the emotion myself. So I think he hit a lot of the right notes for whatever this kind of thing is worth. I don't know, winning news conferences, whatever. It's a hard day to be mean about them, I think. I mean, you can still do it.
Just upset.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. That's how I feel too. The Bills did the thing, and I always love this, and I always notice it. The tweet this morning with Brady getting to work.
Shorts, by the way.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
He had shorts on walking into the building in the dark.
Well, that's a plus. That's good.
I mean,
but you always,
somebody tell Ross.
There's the clock, 4:41. They can't not tell you, even if it's not like Joe Brady got to work today at 4 a.m. What does he need to do at 4 a.m. today? It's kind of a big day for him to be on point. Maybe just sleep until the sun comes up. Was he watching Senior Bowl tape at 4:45? We're supposed to like that? That's what they think. Maybe people do. Maybe people fall for that. But there's the clock over his shoulder, 4:41.
I did not notice
Somebody's
the clock.
job is to go to the stadium at 4 a.m. to be there to shoot pictures of him for the website, because we need everybody to know that this guy works at 4 in the morning.
I guess that's got to be right, unless those are just like the ring camera photos, which I doubt they are. So
no, somebody's squatting down next to his
somebody on the
desk.
social media team was there to take pictures of him outside.
I'm so sad for that
I wonder if that person was wearing shorts too.
They got to squat down next to his desk and make sure the clock is in the picture. 4:41. 4:41. Really? Is that necessary? I mean, here comes the press conference at noon. I'm talking to Matt Collar on his podcast. I'm like, it's probably not going to start. He's probably asleep. He's probably napping. I mean, he's been up a long time. I didn't notice the shorts. How did I miss that?
I don't know how you missed that. You're becoming that guy if you're not flat out already that guy.
I'm not wearing shorts myself. The season is more than 8 months or what? Yeah, more than 8 months away, or almost 8 months away. Whatever it is. Just you can probably wait to come in a little later, I think. But that's the first impression you want to make. Also, Bills, just keep it a two-shot. The thing went on for an hour. There's two guys at the table. They both fit in the screen perfectly. Why do they always have to move to center the person that was talking where you see the other person's like half cut off? Why did they have to do that? Just keep it a two-shot. It's fine. We might want to see the other person reacting to the answers that are being given. It would have been better. Just don't overdo it. Don't try so hard. Just keep it a two-shot. Listen, now I'm Ansel Adams. Mr. Photography or whatever. Just keep them both in the screen. Why do you need to do this the whole time?
Because they have a director.
Right. You're the coach. You got to coach. You got to change the lines.
Lindy with the line.
You got to change the lines. Right. What do I do here?
What else am I going to do?
I guess I just have to move the camera back and forth all day. Well, you sound good. You fell in the snow. What's the first thing for someone who fell in the snow? You seem like you're recovering.
That wasn't today on the way in. It was the other night when I got home. But yeah.
What's the first thing I would think of? Is that did anybody see me do it?
Yeah, I didn't.
Because I'm probably not injured.
Yeah,
Did anybody see this?
There was someone in my neighborhood walking to a car. I didn't recognize the person nor the car, but someone definitely saw me. I just.
Did you sort of jump up and do a little jog or something to? Oh
no, there was
meant to do that.
No, there was no. It was like a 3-act fall. Like the snowbank was deeper than I thought it was, and so like left leg went in, right leg, and it just I fell like a tree. I mean, I really slowly. I was like, I'm going down, and I'm holding. Mike is telling you this because I never have carried a bag. Mike carries a bag. I never have a bag. I carry an iPad like a spiral notebook, basically.
Like a loaf of bread. You carry it like a loaf of bread.
But this incident the other night where I fell in a snowbank, like up to my chest. I'm holding my iPad up like the Statue of Liberty when I fell in the snow because it's not protected at all. I mean, it has a case in case it falls on the floor, but it is not protected from falling in a snowbank. And I'm just holding. I'm like, I need to start carrying a bag. I need a backpack or something. So today I have a backpack.
That's what did it.
That did it. Yeah, almost destroying my iPad because I fell in the snow. That's like $1,000 mistake you don't want to make.
You got to keep it above the water.
Right.
Make sure it doesn't you're falling back like this. Ah. It can happen right now. There's a lot of tricks out there right now.
I got up early today to snowblow.
4:41?
No.
Were you out there by 4:41
no.
at your desk?
I got up around 6, had some coffee, and then by 7 was running the machine. Because I think the rules are very different about snow blowing than they are about like lawn mowing. Like snow blowing, anything goes. If you want to do it at midnight, go for it. 5 in the morning?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I think that's how it should be.
I disagree.
That's how I feel
rude.
about the rules about snow blowing. So, anyway.
Hopefully Brady did what I do. Like my kids get up and get on the bus. The bus comes at 6:30 in the morning. And I don't even do this every day, but like today. So I'm up, I'm down there. How's it going? What do you got today? Mama's cutting up an apple for them. Cut up your own apples. But anyway, she likes to do that. They're teenagers. And, then I'm down there. Then I just go back to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But at least, maybe Brady got some sleep in between like 4:42 and 9. I don't know how much he needs. He's younger than me.
Right.
He's taller than I knew.
You have a lot of energy, that's for sure. Yeah.
The picture of the group shot, Pete Gwelly, Terry Pagula, his daughter, Laura, I think it is, right? And Bean.
I know the daughter Laura was involved in all this, but
she's
I don't
in one
know
picture.
Okay.
Brady's like a head taller than all of them.
Yeah. I didn't know he was a big dude either.
Right? He's always sitting down when we see him.
Right. Right.
But yeah, that's a good trait. You've benefited from it your whole life. Even if you don't know. You have.
Even if you fall down in snowbanks.
Yeah. That takes a little longer when you're your size.
Yeah. We
have stuff today. Joe Ostrowski coming up next. Speaking of coaches, we'll talk about, among other things, the Coach of the Year race. The race is over, I guess, but what the odds look like. Who should win? That's a good one.
Has a fired coach ever won Coach of the Year?
You know what? Maybe.
I wonder. Not that I think McDermott has a look at it. I'm just wondering.
What about Jimmy Johnson?
Any of these? Yeah, right. After that, I don't know.
Maybe he won it. I don't know either, but it seems possible. Super Bowl stuff, Bills futures, and more with Joe coming up after our first time out here momentarily. Matt Harmon today. I put an exclamation point next to his name.
All right.
Matt Harmon.
I like that.
Reception perception. How bad off are the Bills at wide receiver? And his thoughts, perceptions, if you will, on this past season. And we'll talk to Sal. That's not official as far as I know, but I assume we'll get some time with Sal today as well. The Sabres are home to L.A. Pregame starts at 6. We'll hear from Alex Lyon, among others, on the pregame show tonight. I would assume, start in goal. So he talks on his game days.
It's possible Paul talked to him yesterday.
Okay, maybe that's
Sometimes
the case.
He does that.
Okay. So that's all ahead, and we'll look for your calls too, 803-0550. Next, Joe Ostrowski from Chicken Dinner. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
McDermott. How to lead, resilience, standards. The past 9 years in this organization matter. I'm understanding of that. I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be a part of it. They matter deeply and they deserve respect. I'm so grateful for Coach McDermott. I love Coach McDermott, and I'm going to do everything I can to continue to build upon the things that he laid and the foundation he laid.
Joe Brady, day one. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. I got a text a little bit ago from Joe Ostrowski. I didn't realize you guys had a press conference to react to. You want to push me back? I'm like, thinking to myself, you're Joe Ostrowski. We're not pushing you. We're not. No.
React away, Joe.
We have 6 months to react to Joe Brady, and there won't be much that changes. And it's probably another Bill season where, in terms of like reasonable goals and expectations, it doesn't matter that much until January. So, we'll make it work. Is that already in play, Joe? Like the Bills I think I saw them somewhere as the Super Bowl favorite. Is that what you've seen? And is that, reasonable?
See, I'm just used to people mad no matter what the Bears do. And there's never that sort of expectation, which is a good thing for you guys. Mm-hmm. As far as Super Bowl favorites, I'd have to look around because a lot of books they're going to post them the second the Super Bowl ends. Mm-hmm. I know it is out there, but that would make a lot of sense. It's going to be fascinating what they end up doing with numbers with these teams that didn't make the playoffs, and how high do you put Kansas City? When's he going to be ready? With the Ravens and their changes, how high do you go with the Ravens? They're a metric darling every offseason, and they were a metric darling last offseason, and how high they end up going. But, yeah, I mean, you have Josh Allen. They're going to be one of the favorites.
Right.
No doubt about it. So
how sticky are the?
I'm not. Yeah, you're right. The ones that I'm seeing, okay, 9-1, slight favorite over the Rams.
How sticky are the new teams? Like New England, the Bills being above New England is interesting in itself, if that's what it is. And then Denver with their season, even the Chargers a little bit, like they'll get their tackles back, and Mike McDaniel is there. I bet they get a little bit more love this offseason than last. So that'll be what's different this year, Joe, is it's not just the same 3 teams, basically, or maybe 4 if you count the Bengals last couple of years in the odds. Now you've got some new players.
It's a wide net. When you look at all the teams, and there's many of them that didn't meet expectations, things went against them injury-wise, whatever the reason was. Bad coaching, you make a change. We saw a lot of teams that got new coaches, and then you saw that bump right away. And you could tell right away. That's why the Raiders this ain't going to work with Carroll. Let's move on right immediately. Like, teams are not wasting time at all. It's a big group. So are you going to go against all those teams? It was the Vikings last year. People are like, they can't repeat this. They make a quarterback change, and it was very different. Are they going to do that with New England? To be determined. Will they do that with teams like Chicago on the NFC side? Because you can make a lot of the same arguments, whether fourth quarter comebacks, turnover rate. We hear the same stuff every single year. The thing that's different this year, Mike, is it feels like the number of teams that were lucky or were very unlucky is it's like a third of the league. So I don't know that all of that's going to come true. You'll have instances where it works out and instances where it doesn't.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what the marketplace does with the Chiefs. Like you said, like when does Mahomes come back? Like he's, of course, already talking like he'll be ready in September, and I'm not here to tell you that he won't. The timeline is close enough. But still, like, how much do you want to trust that? I'll bet they're favored to win that division.
For sure. And so, like, because people are unsure, and a lot of this stuff gets solidified after free agency, because that's part of it. Like, if you go back 1 year ago, I see it referenced, Patriots were 80-1. Yeah, they were 80-1 to win the Super Bowl when the season started. In February, they were 125-1. And then as they were making moves, people were looking at that and paying attention, and there were some people that were betting that. What you're seeing right now, what I see is the magic number 14-1. That is the 5th favorite spot. That's where they slot the Chiefs. with Detroit, Green Bay, New England. And then the Ravens just behind there. The Chargers just behind there. San Francisco also right behind there. Jaguars, they're like the 12th favorite right now. I mean, there's so much parity in this league that there's so many teams that when we say the Bills are the favorite, okay, yes, that's technically true.
Someone has to be first, right?
It's 9-1.
Right.
Right? Like throughout most of the year, the favorite was around 4.
Yeah.
And it's more than double that.
With Joe Ostrowski, well, you mentioned the Patriots in there, the Bears, coaches of those teams among the favorites to win Coach of the Year. It's been an interesting season for this. Maybe as many as, well, maybe at least 5 strong candidates this year. What do the odds look like, and what do you think happens? Who do you think should win also?
They had him up there for a while, but they eventually just decided to pull the odds. I think this was the most competitive category that you have. I don't think there's any other award where you could say, okay, not only is there a debate, but there's a debate between, like as you mentioned, 5 different guys. And you just look at the finalists, and you could make a case one by one for each of them to win. And I think that's fair. Like, of course, I hear it in Chicago. Oh, well, Ben Johnson should win. Ben Johnson should win. Of course, well, you're going to say that. The betting market, before they took them down, because the voting has been done for so long because it's a regular season award, the betting market is like Vrabel's winning. That's what they were saying. They could be wrong. They've been wrong in the past sometimes. The second favorite ends up winning, but it was a pretty high number. I want to say -400, -500. And I know it has nothing to do with it, but they would, if they vote that way, they would probably be proven correct now that they're sitting here in the Super Bowl. But yeah, McDonald's, one of the other finalists. I don't think he's going to get enough love. He really wasn't throughout the entire season. Cohen, one of the new guys. Ben Johnson, one of the new guys. And the other finalists, yeah, a Kyle Shanahan conversation should definitely have happened. And for some reason, I don't think he's getting enough love. He's going to have to go 3-loss season, maybe 4 max. It feels like with his reputation for his team. But there's not a lot of coaches that would have won as many games as he did with as many injuries.
Injuries, yes. It's a tough award because, of course, it's so based on expectations. You're the most better than I thought, and I guess I'm right, so you should win, something like that. But what's interesting about that list, 4 of those 5 coaches have quarterbacks, I think, drafted in the top 3. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Lawrence, and Darnold. Even. And the Niners quarterback was the literal last pick of the draft.
There's that. Yeah.
And so, maybe there's something to be said for Shanahan based on that.
Yeah. I do think, you get back-to-back 4-13 seasons and turn your team into a 13-4 team. I mean, and I know the voting is done before they're in the Super Bowl, but still, they won 13 games off of back-to-back 4-13 seasons. I know you've got the quarterback. Almost everybody that has a good season does. To me, Vrabel should cruise.
14-3 even.
Yeah, right.
14
sorry,
and 3.
I said it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, but, point taken.
It would, if it's Vrabel, and it's probably going to be, it would buck the trend of what we've seen. Most times with these coaches, it will be a win total in the middle because you've got to exceed expectations, surprise people. Vrabel did that. It was at 8.5. It's usually 6.5 to 8.5, 9.5 maybe. That's usually the range. But the other part is that not as many people pay attention to is it's usually like a journeyman. You do it with a middle-of-the-road quarterback. That's not what Drake May is. None of us believe that that's what he's going to be. So it would certainly buck that trend.
With Joe Ostrowski, what are a couple of your takeaways from the Super Bowl odds? What do you like? Is it time to be betting it, or maybe already was the time to be betting it? I'm not sure if there's been any movement.
Well, yeah, there are some books that put a number of props up immediately. As far as Las Vegas, last night was the big night out there because the Westgate Superbook is where you can bet the most on individual props, and they have a whole big reveal. They did that last night. You're allowed to bet 2 props, and then you have to go to the back of the line, and they will take $2,000 a prop, and that is something that most sports books do not do. So That was a big thing last night. I'll mention it now because Sam had passed it along, and it would be old news when he's on another 24 hours, that he talked to some of the guys out there, sharp bettors, also the bookmakers. The most popular prop, the one that moved a ton, would be Mac Hollins, under 2.5 receptions. So that's what a lot of the short bettors were on. They identified that as the wager that had the incorrect number according to the Westgate. So that's what they bet. Some of the things that I've been paying attention to, the numbers that are moving big time.
Come on.
May, of course, with the rushing yards in the last game, of course, he's getting love there. That goes from 29.5 to 37.5.
Wow.
And then the starting running backs on both teams, rushing yards, way down. Walker goes from 82.5 to 74.5. Ramondre Stevenson from 57.5 to 50.5. And I think that's really interesting. A lot of the smart people I've been talking to, like, they keep bringing up Henderson.
Oh,
that's
come on.
People are not expecting. Right. I know.
Joe.
Sam brought him up to me the night of Championship Sunday, and I had that exact same reaction. Oh, come on, because I'm so sick of it. You've been sick of it all year with fantasy, probably. But is this the time?
I have a part of in a team that was in great position. Top prize is $500,000, and it's through the Super Bowl. And our leverage is Henderson because everybody above us has Stevenson or May or whoever.
When he played 4 snaps.
4 snaps. Thanks.
Sorry to laugh.
But if they get behind, maybe we can dig out. But like four snaps, great. In the snow, who needs a second round running back to help you in that case? MVP, you may know, Bulldog and I and Sam are in on M and Worry. We did that at 500 to 1, and now it's got to be, double digits at least, right?
Bet it too.
Are you? Good.
I did. I bet it, and then I tried to bet it for you, and then it wouldn't let me. So, yeah, I texted Sam, and he's like, I already got it. Don't worry.
All right.
And Sam tailed it, so we're all in this together. Need a pick six, maybe a second takeaway with a pick six and a Seattle win. In not a JSN game or a Darnold shootout game like last week. Maybe then.
He's down to 100 to 1, by the way.
100 to 1 now. Okay, I thought it was a little shorter than that even, but I guess not. Very good, Joe. The Sabres are hot. I'm sure you know that.
Yes, all over it.
All over it. Sabres and Kings tonight, right here on WGR. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk again next Thursday.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll have a ton of props to go over.
Can't wait. Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
No Sam tomorrow, right?
That's right. He's going to be in the air.
He's traveling.
Yeah.
No me tomorrow.
Yeah.
Unless the Bills fire Brady and hire someone else.
No you tomorrow. No Sam tomorrow. Maybe some Nate. We'll see. We're working. We're working through things.
You think I'm safe?
Yes, I do think you're safe.
There's nothing the Bills could do tomorrow if they hired.
I don't want you to
Belichick
come in.
as defensive coordinator.
Don't come in.
I'm not coming in.
No matter what.
I'm going to the Scotties.
All right.
It's the playoffs.
You got to do it.
Advantage me. So there it is. No Sam though. He never misses. It just was perfectly bad timing.
Right. Yeah. He literally said he's going to be in the air from like 2:30 to 5:30, and he said, do you want me after? I'm like, no. Dude, just take a Friday.
Where is he going?
I didn't ask.
Someplace warm? Oh, must be nice. My friends in Maui through all this.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely this time of year. It's lovely all times of the year there. We'll take a break. We've got Matt Harmon coming up at 4. Time for a call or two if you got him after a break. 803-0550. Joe Brady introduced earlier today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Welcome back. Hopefully you caught the Bills press conference today. Joe Brady, new head coach. That was on live on WGR starting at noon. Went for about an hour. We have the Sabres tonight, pregame at 6 when Paul joins us. 5 o'clock for Sal Capacio, and coming up shortly at 4, it's Matt Harmon. Who better in the game to talk receivers with than Matt? Mm-hmm. Kind of a position of discontent around here in the last 30 months-ish.
Yes.
Brian is with us. Hello. Brian. Well,
I guess Brian's not there.
he called about wide receiver, it seemed, and we just settled it.
That was going to dovetail nicely into our Matt Harmon appearance.
Maybe we just basically took all the words right out of his mouth.
Right. Did you? Was it notable at all to you that Brady said Keon Coleman will be on the Bills?
How did I miss that? I didn't notice it.
I didn't hear it, but I saw it on Twitter that he said it. So I hope that that's accurate. Maybe, I don't know if I hope I'm not stepping in it by bringing this up. But because somebody did comment to me on Twitter how that wasn't mentioned, but then I saw someone say that he said he's going to be here.
Okay.
Now I feel bad because I should have vetted that more thoroughly.
I don't know. I just missed it.
Yeah.
I might have stepped away for a second, but I missed it.
Yeah, he did. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up from Zach. So thank you, Zach. I don't know. That doesn't have to mean anything. I mean, it's January, so teams say all kinds of stuff about guys that they intend to move off of at this time of the year. They've got obviously some rehabilitating to do of his image off of last Wednesday, I would think. So we'll see where that goes. But that was the only real specific player that I think was mentioned, other than Josh Allen,
When Pagula did what he did last week, we talked to Sal, is Coleman going to be on the team? And I think Sal said, I doubt it. We sort of had that takeaway. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not a move you could ever look good making. If that's a cut, then that's Elam territory. Mm-hmm. If it's a trade, what are you getting? Really, like in fantasy, you have this. Not really excited about this asset, but I'm not giving him away.
Even did they traded Elam eventually.
They did.
They did
what?
Get
a sixth or something?
3, yeah, obviously, but at least something. Like they didn't just cut him. So
no, but it's close.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm saying is I don't know what you do that looks good on you. So you might as well just hold on and see. It's a position of need. Just see if you can't get somewhere with him. Who was it we were talking to where the guest was asked if he's salvageable? Was it yesterday? I don't know.
I don't remember.
Someone said no.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, to elaborate a little here. Here's another quote from more emphatic from Brady. The best thing to ever happen to Keon Coleman is me being his head coach.
Well, okay.
This might be in like sidebar, like if they did, because this is Carl Jones, who's from Channel 4, I think. So maybe they did like, little one-on-ones after the whole thing broke up. Allen also talked about Coleman. Again, I don't know if that was at the podium. I watched almost all of that, but I did walk away for a minute or two in the middle of it. He'll come back from that. I'm not going to give up on number 0. He's got too much talent, Allen on Coleman. So the people today talking were attempting to like walk back how it sounded last week.
Wonder what that comment about me being his head coach is supposed to mean. Maybe Brady sees himself as more lenient. Just a better personality fit with Coleman. I don't know. That could be right, but
yep.
They really might as well just try again with him because what you're getting in return, I think, is not much.
Yep.
And you shouldn't really need whatever that is going to be. It'd be shocking if they were to do really well in a trade for Coleman. I mean, you can just sort of move on or you could keep trying, and I think I would do the latter. Matt Harmon, receptionperception.com coming up next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR.
Earlier this afternoon, the Buffalo Bills did hold their introductory press conference for newest head coach Joe Brady, and we heard from Brady and general manager Brandon Beane for about an hour. And one of the things talked about was the expectations coming into this job with years of previous success. Brady says he is ready to face them head on.
I didn't take this job to shy away from expectations. I'm embracing it, I'm understanding it, and I'm meeting it full on. I know what I signed up for, and we're going to embrace it because no one rises to low expectations. I want what the city wants.
Brady is hitting the ground running, as Ian Rappaport is reporting. First staff hire for Joe Brady, as they are bringing in Steelers offensive line coach Pat Meyer to serve in that same role. We also did hear from quarterback Josh Allen today, and we got a little bit of an injury update on him. He did have a procedure done on his foot, though it ultimately should not affect him for any of the Bills' offseason programs. And then Dalton Kincaid, we also got an injury update on him. He is not going to have surgery on his knee after dealing with a PCL injury during this season. And staying with Kincaid, some bonus news for him. Brandon Beane did hint at the team at picking up his fifth-year option. Do stay tuned. We'll get more on what we heard today. Sal Capacio joins the show in just about an hour at 5 p.m. Over to the Sabres. It is a game night tonight. They are hosting the LA Kings at 7. Sabres looking for their fifth win in a row. Pregame at 6, both right here on WGR. Some goaltender notes. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen going to be out at least a week after picking up that lower body injury against Toronto, according to head coach Lindy Ruff. And then in net tonight, it is expected to be Alex Lyon, who will be going for a team record 10th straight win. And then 14 other games tonight across the league, though some matchups to keep an eye on include also at 7. The Bruins host the Flyers in Colorado. They're in Montreal versus the Canadiens. 7:30, Red Wings host the Capitals. 8 p.m. sees the Panthers in St. Louis versus the Blues. And then to wrap your night up at 10, the Maple Leafs, they're out west to take on Seattle. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp
It's nothing you did.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you. It's you, but you didn't cross me.
and the Bulldog
Why did I choose? Why did I just stay in school?
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Sabres injuries, it's the usual upper body, lower body business. Connor Timmins, it says broken leg. Do you think he feels slighted? They're just going to
Go after that.
They're just
leg.
gonna
I'm gonna shoot
let
the leg.
you know. We're not hiding this one, folks. Broken leg. Lower body would have probably been, the usual fare, but not in this case. Exciting times, Sabres and Kings tonight. Also exciting times right now. Matt Harmon with us on the West Her hotline, receptionperception.com. Matt, great to talk to you again. How's life?
Life is good, man. Yeah, I've been looking forward to talking to you guys for a while because it has certainly been an eventful time over there with the Buffalo Bills. So I'm very excited to chat today for sure.
Thank you. Yes, we had to move a couple times, and thank you for being flexible with us. Well, wide receiver has never stopped being a topic of conversation on this radio station. And wouldn't you know, the season ended kind of in keeping with the whole complaint.
Yeah,
you know?
I've been pointing out to a number of our guests as we're talking it all through here that the final 2 passes Josh Allen threw were targeted for Mecole Hardman Jr. and Brandon Cooks, which really tells you a lot about the receiving core in 2025.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, that obviously I'm sure you guys and everybody listening and everybody in the Buffalo area obviously has, big feelings about, the Brandon Cooks catch, interception, the whole thing. To me, my big reaction there is we're throwing to Brandon Cooks in the divisional round to try to go to the AFC Championship. And again, Brandon Cooks obviously has been a really nice player in this league, and frankly, he outkicked my expectations with the Buffalo Bills. He did much more than I probably expected him to do. That being said, he was a completely unused player by a 2-win Saints team. He was being targeted on 8.8% of his routes through the first 10, 11 weeks of the season for the New Orleans Saints, who, again, had 2 wins at the time. And he's the most important wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills trying to go to the championship. It was a crazy development. And, yeah, as you said perfectly, wide receiver is always a talking point with this franchise.
Matt, where is it more than anywhere else that maybe they went wrong? I mean, trading Diggs when they did it, there was off-the-field stuff it made enough sense, and he was getting older anyway. But was it the Coleman pick? Is it a philosophical thing? Where did the Bills? How did the Bills end up here? Really?
So I think the Diggs trade. Honestly, I think it looks bad in hindsight for the Bills because Stephon Diggs is currently playing for a team that's in the Super Bowl, and the Bills desperately want to be in the Super Bowl. I get that. At the same time, though, I think that relationship needed to end when it ended. I think it was the right time for both parties because you guys know this is life. Like, relationships sometimes can be really good and you can look back on it, and again, I'm sure Bills fans don't feel the same way, but Diggs had a couple comments this year after playing the Bills, being like, yeah, like I had great years there, I had great years as the quarterback, all that type of stuff. It ended when it needed to end. And I think the fact that Diggs has gone on and been not a number one receiver for the Texans or for the Patriots, like he might be the best receiver on the Patriots, but he's no longer at the level of a wide receiver one for that team. He's a very good complementary piece in their passing game. It's just tough from a political standpoint to take your elite number one receiver, if you're the Bills, and start, minimizing his role in the offense. Because in my opinion, I think he started to decline, not, like he's washed or anything, but started to decline from that elite form in 2023 actively in that season. And so you just can't really minimize that guy's role while also keeping him on the roster at the salary. Like it was time for that relationship. I don't fault them for that move. I do think just not ignoring, but just misevaluating other players at that outside receiver position after the fact was the issue. Whether it was taking Coleman and saying this guy is an X receiver, because you guys know this. I said this many times. I thought his best home would be as a big slot receiver in the NFL. Just at the level of separation that he gets, he just can't be a high-volume X receiver. And I think trying to live in that, I think overcorrecting from, hey, we have an elite number one who the world revolves around him in the passing game, and even more than that, the world just revolves around this guy, to then, everybody eats. I think they overcorrected and kind of got a bunch of, guys that really are not even really needle-moving number three receivers on other rosters to be your top outside receivers. Josh Palmer, for example. I mean, the Chargers completely moved on from him. I think that was the issue for this team. It kind of overcorrecting what they were before.
Yeah, so the way forward with Coleman, not surprisingly, he's come up here the last 2 weeks, volunteered information from the owner last week at the news conference to discuss them moving on from Sean McDermott, and that was kind of sloppy. One thing that's on a list of many things that I think were handled sloppy by the organization around McDermott's dismissal. But today, Joe Brady, the new head coach, is confirming, I stood on the table for Keon Coleman, and I'm going to be the best thing that ever happened to him. Being his head coach is going to be the best thing that ever happened to Keon Coleman. How recoverable do you think he is? Does he need to move to the slot in order to be a functional piece for them? Because Shakir is living there.
Yeah, see, that was the problem, too, that even when they took Coleman, your best receiver is Khalil Shakir. Your most useful receiver is Khalil Shakir, and he kind of has to play in the slot for his role to come to life and for him to be the best version that he is. A guy that has been a huge hit for them as a fifth-round pick and an extension player. So I think – but there are ways that they can use Coleman almost akin to a slot receiver, but he's not lining up in the slot. And same thing with Khalil Shakir, too. I'd love to see those guys line up next to each other, real tight condensed bunches and stuff like that, where, Coleman can be your on-ball slot and Shakir can be your off-ball out wide receiver. I think there's ways for those two guys to be activated and used in combinations in that way. You've seen that a little bit with Seattle's done that at time with Jackson Smith-Njigba, who was a guy that was a slot-only player at Ohio State and in his first few years in the NFL. Now, he obviously is a much better man coverage receiver than either Shakir or Keon Coleman, which is why he's been able to thrive as a true X in Seattle's offense. But there have been times where they did that with Kupp and JSN. There's been times where the Rams have done that with Kupp and Puka Nacua, kind of to essentially almost make them into slot players. I think the Bills can do that, but it does require getting somebody in the room who can be a true X and line up in isolation on the outside. And I think there will be players available both in free agency and in this draft cycle, that there are options there. That's one way forward. The other way forward is to say, hey, what if we get something from Keon Coleman? It's gravy, but we're not going to plan for him to be the starter. But I do love Brady's comments, and I think that was a much better way to handle the Keon Coleman thing than what happened at the previous press conference, and I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. You know, Matt, to your point, I think that would necessarily mean that Kincaid isn't on the field. And that's what's been baffling maybe, or just sort of tricky, to be nice, about this whole situation is, you know, you drafted Kincaid to play a certain role kind of in that same spot on the field. And yes, he's been in and out of the lineup, but they're not taking Knox off the field if they want to run the ball like they have the last 2 years. So he's a tight end and not exactly in your domain, but I'm sure you have some opinion on what the Bills have in Kincaid at this point, who has been somewhat of a difference maker when he's played. Like, he doesn't play a ton of snaps, but he's been all right.
Yeah, absolutely. At times, I mean, I think I don't even know if it's debatable that he was their best downfield receiver this season when he was healthy. And he obviously was not consistently healthy. He hasn't been consistently healthy. But at one point this year, he was in historic company in terms of yards per route run at the tight end position. I know I posted that at one point this season, that he was just at an incredibly impressive area. Yeah, I actually just found it right now. This was back like mid-December, December 11th. But Kincaid was averaging at that point 2.89 yards per route run. That was fourth among tight ends since 2015 with 150-plus routes. The other guys on the list are like Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and then 3 straight George Kittle seasons. Obviously, we don't think that Kincaid is, by the way, what a baller, George Kittle. But we don't think Kincaid's in that bucket, but that's the level of receiving impact he was bringing to his team from an efficiency standpoint. And I think there's a lot that he can bring to the table, but you're right to point out that, hey, if we're doing all this catering to Keon Coleman and to Khalil Shakir to try to get what is, I think, useful play out of both those guys, that does put us in a little bit of contrast with our first-round tight end, who I think they should pick up the fifth-year option, as Bean said that they will do. And this kind of gets me to my point about Joe Brady's offense. The Brady thing, and look, from a process standpoint and the way it was sold, I understand why Bills fans might not be happy about that, and I've got my skepticism about that too. But just from a offensive design standpoint, I'm actually a really big fan of Joe Brady, and I think that he has been – I think his coaching staff, it just obviously has not been communicated that way via the way ownership has talked about it and handled it with the promotions and stuff. I think this offensive staff has had to operate with one hand tied behind their back, because Bean has put together a room here. We want to group all pass catchers, wide receivers, and tight ends. It just takes a lot of specificity and role catering, and none of these guys just get separation on their own on the outside. That makes it really hard on a play caller in Joe Brady, who I watched with my eyeballs put together 1,000 yard from scrimmage players in Carolina in his first season as the OC, with Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback. Like, they just had better pass catching talent, and I think that's the end of the story there.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest, at least for me, objections. I don't know, that's maybe too strong, but something I'm concerned about. And they use the word alignment a number of times today, and it was referenced when McDermott was let go, that they weren't in alignment, that he maybe was challenging them too much on the roster, and that seemed to really upset Pagula for sure, and probably Brandon Bean. And so, fresh eyes, fresh perspective, someone that's going to challenge you. I'm nervous that they're just going to think Brady can just continue to sprinkle the pixie dust that he has, that has helped his team score 30 points a game last year and 28.5 or whatever the number was this past season. And I think, they need to overhaul that room, and I'm just worried that his being hired will give them reason to think maybe they don't have to go that far.
I share your skepticism there and your concern about the entire thing, because, I mean, just to me, when they lost that game against Denver, I said this on Football 301, our Yahoo Sports show with Nate Tice that evening when we did a live show. I was like, I don't think this is kind of a weird time to fire Sean McDermott, because I don't think his coaching job this year, at least from the information that I would see on the outside, deserves to be let go. I think this was more of a roster problem. And then just basically everything they've said publicly and with both words and actions has been completely disagreeing with that coming out of Buffalo. So I think I'm with you there that I think this needs to be a moment of introspection for the front office and kind of a look in the mirror moment for what they've done with this pass catching group, because there's just a lot they've done really well from an offensive standpoint. Like, they've built a pretty badass run game. The offensive line, with now Aaron Cromer's retiring, that's another thing to talk about too. That group is good. Obviously Josh Allen's Josh Allen, but this definitely requires, and I think this could be the inflection point, where we're promoting Joe Brady, and hopefully Brady has some different ideas and can maybe be more empowered. I mean, the guy played wide receiver himself back at William & Mary, about an hour and a half from where I live here. The guy has a receiver background. Like I said, I think he did a wonderful job maximizing and putting DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel in these roles that made sense in Carolina. And I just think the players, it comes back to the players and the process of acquiring those players here in Buffalo. But I share your concern that a lot of the actions here indicate it's going to be more of the same. I don't think that's a tenable situation if that's what happens here.
And there's only so much you can do, Matt. Like, if they had a whole different attitude about the wide receiver position, what do they do about it? Maybe there's some huge trade you might be able to imagine. Otherwise, it's free agency, which you hinted earlier that you think that there might be a good idea or two there for them. I'd be curious about that. Or the draft. They're drafting late again. You did tweet about Ted Hurst, by the way, his name came up on our show yesterday.
State.
Yes, back-to-back show appearances for Ted Hurst. Here we go. But
the pride of Georgia State, baby.
The pride of Georgia State.
Everybody expected. But
yes.
Yeah, no, that's a great point about the Bills being in a tough spot with the wide receiver. Just how it's going to go. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I've started to look at draft prospects earlier than ever this year. I've actually got about 2 to 4 games done on about 12 to 13 players right now. And every time I put out a video compilation of Mekhi Lemon just absolutely dominating against Iowa. And I got Bills fans in the comments be like, what do the Bills got to do to get him? I'm like, well, you're not going to get him. You need to have lost 5. You need to have won 5 games last year to have gotten him. You didn't do that. You went to the divisional round. You're probably not getting this guy. So there are going to be guys available in that late first, early second that I think fit the mold of what they want. But because what I think they need is specifically like an outside separator, especially one who could potentially play X receiver, those options are going to be limited. Like, I really like Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. He fits the separation bill that they need. But we got to see what his measurables are. Like, could he be a guy that they need that sort of size and separation ability? That's tough. Might not be available in the end of the first round. Maybe a guy like Denzel Boston could be that type of player for them, who is a size speed type of, or definitely a size guy, and I think has the ability to play X in the NFL. Other than that, then it gets kind of dicey. But are they looking at like Alex Pearson free agency? Mm-hmm. That would be a guy that I think could make a lot of sense for them. But I am a little worried that Pierce is going to go from one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL to kind of overpaid in free agency, because that's kind of how it goes. And I'm not even sure the Colts are going to let him out of their building. So then, do they call Jacksonville about a Brian Thomas Jr. trade? I would say if any team was to go, hard in the paint to get that done, Buffalo does make sense to do it. You're just obviously taking a risk on a player that had a bad season last year and kind of fell out of favor with the new coaching staff.
Matt, who's your number one best wide receiver in the NFL?
Oh, gosh, I love the question. I think coming out of this year, James Coe and I on Reception Perception show, we do an award show every single season right around this time. I gave the honor of best receiver in the NFL this year to Puka Nacua. And by the way, and number 2 is JSN. I think coming out of this year, you got to say those 2 guys. And obviously then Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson still belong in the conversation to me. But those guys are up there. But I think specifically Nacua and JSN and St. Brown is pretty close in this conversation too. I mean, guys, when we first I don't know when the first time I came on your radio station is, because we've had so many good conversations over the years, and it's been a good relationship, hopefully for both sides.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
But whatever the first show was, it's been a long time, and I've been studying receivers since 2014, guys like Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, even Jackson Smith-Njigba to a certain extent, these were not like the best receivers in the NFL from an archetype standpoint, 10 years ago. In 2014, when I started, the first year started charting league-wide data. So we're seeing a shifting in the tide at the wide receiver position in terms of who are the best guys. And I think that's instructive for teams that are looking, for wideouts this year. But, yeah, I think coming out of this year, former fifth-round pick Puka Nacua probably has to be considered the best receiver in the NFL. But it's a crowded group up at the top.
Matt, Mike is much better at being like the show historian, but the first time I can remember talking to you, that's not to say it didn't happen before and I just forgot about it, was right after the Bills traded for Diggs.
Yeah.
Because you were such a big fan of his, and but there was a lot going on at that time. That was like COVID was just starting to happen. But I remember first talking to you then. So.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
I certainly remember it being, because I was living in LA at the time. I feel like I remember it being in, not that anybody cares about this, my apartment on Clarington Avenue. So that would put it, again, not that anybody would care. That would put it actually somewhere in like 2019 or something.
Okay.
So,
I was doing the same thing today with this press conference, thinking about other Bills coach introductory press conferences and where I was. And I was thinking of Doug Marrone in my old house, sitting like where the computer was and having headphones on to not distract anybody and just listening to that. So yeah, that's funny. That's how you remember it. Well, Matt,
boys, what that means is we're lucky to still be doing this.
Yes,
and it's better than having a real job. Let's
it sincerely is always a great pleasure. Maybe I'll see you in the fantasy space again this year. ADP chasing debuts next Tuesday. Just saying, we have a seat for you anytime you want. I say that.
Hey, let me know. I'm around. Yeah, and hopefully see you again soon. And it's always good talking to you boys. I'm sure the Bills will give us more reasons to get back together and talk wide receivers here in the next couple of months. That would be my prediction there.
For better or worse. Very good.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for working with us. Moving around so many times, Matt. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you guys.
You're welcome. Matt Harmon, receptionperception.com. I think we didn't ask him. I think he's going to Santa Clara for Yahoo. And Nate Tice.
All right.
Because I was working on booking him through that.
Oh, okay.
Before he came through
like a Super Bowl
already.
Booking agent.
Yes.
Deal. Yeah.
Yeah, they all want to know, are we coming out?
No.
No, we're not going out.
No, we're not. No.
Been 20 years now.
Yeah, that's right.
Since we went.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got friends that are doing a really fun thing in Florida that I was, could have been a part of. And I was like, I'll be traveling to San Francisco when the Bills make the Super Bowl, guys. I can't do it. Because
that's confidence.
Months ago, it's like I can't commit to any. I mean, it was honest. I mean, it wasn't so much that I was, they're going to the Super Bowl. It's just they might, and I can't, book into something else that would get in the way. So.
You're saying this is somebody that got married on the night of no goal. So
Yes,
you know that it could go wrong for you.
I don't want to make any plans to not be around. Yeah,
you played it safe there. 803-0550 for your calls. What did you think of Joe Brady today? Or, in general. We've got Sal coming up at 5 and the Sabres tonight, home to the Kings, pregame at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Odyssey app. In just about a half hour, Sal Capacio will join the show. We'll get the latest on what we heard today, but Brady and the staff he does have gotten the ball rolling right away. Ian Rappaport is reporting the Bills are bringing in Steelers offensive line coach Pat Meyer to serve in that same role. We did also hear from quarterback Josh Allen today. We got a bit of an injury update on him. He had a procedure done on his foot, though it should ultimately not limit him in any of the activities the Bills hold this offseason. And then tight end Dalton Kincaid. We also got an update on him. He is not going to be having surgery on his knee after dealing with a PCL injury this season. Now to the Sabres. They are hosting the Kings tonight at 7, pregame at 6. And the Sabres, they are looking for their 5th win in a row. Some goaltender notes, though, heading into tonight. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen expected to be out at least a week after picking up that lower body injury against Toronto. And then net tonight, it is expected to be Alex Lyon, who's going for a team record 10th straight win. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I told Keon the best thing to happen to Keon Coleman was me being his head coach. I was one of the ones that stood on the table for Keon Coleman, and I believe in Keon Coleman. And like Keon Coleman is going to be a Buffalo Bill. I mean, you guys were all there in training camp. You guys saw him making plays, and it was a learning year for Keon. And I know it's something that not everybody wanted to go through, and but we had to put the team first and a lot of the elements, and he's going to continue to grow. But the elements that we saw in the draft process, the confidence that I have in him and his ability, and as long as he's handling what he needs to do off the field, I have no doubt that he's going to be successful on the field.
All right, Joe Brady sticking his neck out a bit there on Keon Coleman. What happened today apparently was that after the press conference, which ran about an hour, Brady went inside, and what normally happens is what happened, where most of the media are still there, filing stories and
Josh talked after,
and Allen talked,
yeah.
And then Brady eventually went back out and talked for 20 more minutes, Sal says, and that's where that came from. Coleman was not
mentioned during the news conference proper. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you said something to me about him, like I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that there was a second session today. So, I mean, sticking his neck out in one sense, in another, although it kind of did just happen last week in a way, but usually you would not expect. Is player X, do you have high hopes? Is he going to be around? Anything like that? It's either yes, like that, or it's we're going to talk about it.
Right, TBD.
It's usually not no.
Yeah, but it's usually not so emphatically like I stood on the table for him. Brady said, like I wanted this player. It's going to be the best thing that ever happened to him that I'm his head coach. Like that's more than unless it's just an all-time job of trying to reestablish. So when you call somebody, maybe you can get a 6th instead of a 7th because they think that you love the player or something. Like I don't know. I think it's real. I think I think he's saying that, and I think he means it. Doesn't mean Brandon Beane couldn't do something else, before the season gets here. But
funny, Pagula was talking about how the coaches wanted him, and then Beane eventually got around. He was my pick, kind of trying to stand up for himself. And now you've got Brady saying, "No, he was really my pick."
Actually, it was me. Yeah.
I loved. Everybody loved him again. Yeah. That's where we're back to.
Well, considering what we just talked about with Matt Harmon, and their financial situation, players available, who knows how the marketplace will develop as we get toward, into February and eventually into March and early March free agency. Surely there will definitely be players that we're not talking about now that will be perceived as available that are on teams, right? Like this receiver, the contract's getting too big. They got a young guy that's cheaper, whatever. Like that happens. And that'll be something that I think we get certainly into as we go. But do they have the money to pay? Like if they wanted Alec Pierce, and like Matt said, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that looks like the top guy available, and the top guy available in free agency at receiver in the NFL is like close to $30 million now a year.
That's
right?
just going to be crazy for him,
right? So you're not doing that. I don't think you're doing that. I mean, there's ways you can structure anything, I suppose, but I just don't feel like that's my marketplace on the Bills. So rehabilitating Keon Coleman is something that they probably are going to have to invest in because they're not going to have – there's no way they're going to have so many good options available to them that there wouldn't be a spot for him as their fifth guy or something. I'm guessing, just sitting here now. But
I would say that too, but what should the goals be? And also from talking to Matt was, well, how hard do you want to work at getting him to play a meaningful role in the offense? Like, what sacrifices otherwise do you have to make? I mean, he might be what you said, like good enough to make the team in that, considering maybe what they have, especially, but still, how many catches did he have? Like, if he's got to much improve on whatever he just did, or else so what, kind of, you know?
Yep.
And he's just another, he's just another Elijah Moore or Curtis Samuel or somebody.
38 passes he caught. 38 passes, 4 touchdowns.
I mean, that's not a win when you're talking about the draft investment.
That was third on the team in receiving. Only one fewer than Kincaid.
And then Shakir was
72.
I haven't really looked at the season totals at all.
Shakir was 72, Kincaid 39, he's 38, Knox was 36, Coleman 38. James Cook had 33. That was in order. Anyway, but yeah, that's it. So 72 led them, 39 was second best on the team.
We talked about that before the season through statistics, didn't we? Like, would that be you would not have signed for that before the season, that the second highest receiving total on the Bills would be 39 catches?
No, you would more like in the 55 to 60 range, I think. Would have been what I would have been hoping for. And that was kind of what I was hoping for from Coleman. Like, I bought all the hype about him in the summer and how he looked in camp. And, you'd think after 30 years doing this, like going through 30 training camps, talking about 30 training camps, you'd know enough not to, but sometimes the heart just wants what the heart wants. I wanted it to work. They needed a guy to break through. And, okay, sure, yeah, this is going to work. No, that didn't work. He got benched.
In 2024, third on the team was 32 catches. It was even lower.
Everybody starves.
Everybody starves. Everybody nibbles. Everybody everything's.
Snacks. I did like everybody
except
snacks.
Gets full.
Right.
It's not that steak league dinner. I'll tell you that. Whereas, if you're in the steak league where the bottom third buys dinner for themselves and the top third, and the middle third just pays for themselves, you might, take it a little slow on your end because you're already paying for, I'll just say it, mine, right? And then I'll just have mashed potatoes or something, so that I don't completely break my budget. Sean is with us. Hello.
Good afternoon, guys. Definitely was a fan was a fan of the Brady presser today. Thought it went pretty well, especially after last week. To segue over to the receiving core going into next year, I do have a feeling. I don't have any obviously inside info, but I do think Cooks is coming back. I do think you've got Palmer that they're not going to get rid of because of the contract, and I do think he was messed up following that Atlanta game. It probably had an impact on him for the rest of the year, having to deal with those nagging injuries. So between Palmer, Cooks, Shakir, those are 3 guys coming back, and Coleman, 4. So you're looking at 2 slots that are going to be wide open, and those 2 slots have to be filled with difference makers, one via a high draft pick, the other via a trade or free agency. I think my eyes are on Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know why the Cardinals would give him up, but they're obviously in big rebuild mode. They have 0 quarterback. They might want the draft picks. Marvin Harrison probably can't be thrilled with what they've got going on quarterback-wise. I don't know if he's got any leverage given how young he is. But that would be, if I was to draft a high-end receiver or sign one via free agency, then I can get Harrison on the cheap when it comes to financially because he's still on his rookie deal. So I'm looking at 2 separators coming in that, plus Cooks, plus Palmer, a healthy Palmer. And you might be having something there when it comes to explosiveness. Coleman will have to play the Shavers role probably with the blocking and so on and being that big body receiver. So, listen, this is all it can all be moot. They can all do it. Might not happen at all, but that would be where I angle, is those two slots right there.
Well, thanks. If they were somehow, even if it were just the first round pick, but if they were somehow able to successfully get two studs, you don't need Brandon Cooks in that case, I think. I don't know if he's back or not, or what he's worth at this point of his career. He did all right, but not much different than these other moves that have kind of not gotten very far.
To me, he's someone I would talk to if this other stuff doesn't come together. Like if you can't find your way to a player, like a player in the league already, right? A trade or a free agent that is better than Palmer, like higher end. Or if you do just one of those things, maybe you draft a guy, but even then, you just drafted Coleman. You're going to want more insurance than that. So it's really more an established player you got to go find. If you strike out at that, then that's break glass in case of emergency time and hello, Brandon Cooks. If he even wants to keep playing. I mean, I don't know at his age if he's going to keep going.
32.
So that is not where I want to be living, is there. I mean, he helped them, but it really is more that someone at his stage of his career was capable of helping them. Make it so that he can't help you is what you need to do. And then if that doesn't work, or you can't find your way to that or whatever, then maybe that's, something you do later on in the summer. But I doubt that if it's a priority, I feel like it's a bad sign.
Me too. I would say the same thing. Due respect. I actually I thought of Marvin Harrison Jr. when Matt Harmon was on. It wasn't, we didn't have all day. Just as somebody to pick his brain about. I don't know. That's another one where this is Coleman plus. Like, why do I want to do that? I'm Arizona. What do they just go, 3-14 or something? And how many good players do I have? Am I really looking to trade them, especially if they're not super high-end financially? So it would be the opposite of that for me with the Cardinals. I mean, I guess a team that's that bad could do anything. And he hasn't been incredible.
No.
I thought about him. This will come up thinking about recent drafts. This is Brian Thomas Jr. This is JSN. In the last couple of drafts where the Bills, in the weeks of conversation we have, should they trade up for somebody? I'm usually against it, almost always. But, it's an interesting thought to ponder. And those are guys that you would have had to trade up to varying degrees to get, and the Bills were not willing to do that. They did trade up a little bit for Kincaid in that draft. That's also the JSN draft, I believe.
Right.
And then traded down for Coleman.
Because there was that run of receivers right before them, and he was a part of that along with Flowers and I think Addison.
And QJ.
Right, that's right.
4 in a row.
So then maybe they panicked. Panicked, whatever. They just felt like they needed to do something because the receivers, pass catchers were disappearing on them. That can cut both ways. Like Arizona, like the caller said, like they're a terrible season. I think they're going to trade Kyler Murray, but what do I know?
Need a taker.
So if you're starting over at quarterback, I don't know what that even means. You're going into free agency. Are you bringing back Jacoby Brissett? Are you a team that's chasing Mac Jones or Malik Willis, like players that flashed in small, sample sizes this past season? Whatever you're doing, if you're starting over at quarterback, Marvin Harrison Jr. going into year 3, well, he's not making big money yet. I mean, he's a high pick, so he's got a big contract, but not, a free agent contract. I think you try to help your new quarterback get off the ground by keeping him around. I think that would be kind of nutty unless he's a problem, and in which case that, that's more like the Coleman thing has been.
Thanks, Sean. We'll talk to Sal at 5. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Sabres and Kings downtown tonight. Pregame at 6 here on WGR.
fella stopped me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Welcome back. Sal Capacio at 5 today. Hope you're enjoying our now regular video streams. People here are buzzing about the turnout on these streams.
And the maybe the impact it's had. Maybe more people are. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know.
I
don't quite understand that.
Me either.
I'm just a caveman.
I'm glad it's working.
I don't know about your customs. And your technologies.
Well,
plural.
The only problem I've ever had with the whole production is just my big dumb red face. Because I never realized before we started doing this that my face I always look like I'm angry.
I haven't thought about that. I don't see that in you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's how it just. I'm looking at it right now. You look normal.
Thank you.
I look red.
It's so nice. Yeah, we had Sal on Monday. Credit to him as well 15,000 views. All right, great.
It seems like a lot.
Yeah, it seems good.
Yeah.
I get all excited when a fantasy podcast I do gets 7.
Right.
I think 7's great. I've done some where you get like 50 views.
Mm-hmm.
So here I was all excited about 7,000. And now it's like we're getting better than that. I mean, good, interesting times.
That's right.
That helps.
Yes.
Might not be 15,000 in July, but
probably not. No.
Be outside. Now we're trapped indoors. Here's Dennis with us. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, guys. So something I got from the presser, I don't know. Hopefully this is kind of right, but, I think he said something about, the defense. One of the questions was, what do you envision your defense kind of looking like? And he had said he wants to be a much more aggressive style of defense. And then he went on to say he wants that to be like his team's identity, where we as a team are much more aggressive. And I don't know if I'm mishearing that, but I think that's what he said. It was early on in the press conference.
Yeah, he talked about we want them to. They're playing us basically, right? Like
right.
we're going to do what we're going to do, and you got to react to us.
I mean, so like some of that could be coach speak, but what kind of excites me, but I was not happy with the Brady hiring in the first place, but as that comes out, I just wonder. I've wondered this whole time if McDermott had his thumb on Brady pretty hard, and now if Brady can kind of break through that and be a little bit more of who he wants to be, and if we're a more aggressive style, I gotta think that also equals more explosive players. Maybe not having so many clunky guys, maybe being a little bit more, aggressive minded, especially at first, second down, and have guys that can maybe make some chunk plays. And then, I also like that strategy, especially defensively, because, I feel like McDermott got fat for years with his defensive style of being very bend but don't break and safe by playing teams like the Jets twice a year and, some other teams. And we end up filling, the category of like top 10 defense. He did that multiple years. But that's what kind of kills you in the playoffs when you have to run against Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and these guys over and over again. Somebody's going to tear you up. And that seems to be our breaking point, And I just think that, maybe having somebody that can get after the passer a little bit and playing more aggressively is a much better style. So we'll see. Obviously, we'll see how it goes. But I like the aggressive mindset.
I think that's all well and good. The first coach that shows up and is asked about how his defense is going to look different and says, we want to be more conservative. Well, let me know when anybody ever says that.
Gandhi's my hero. We're going to be passive.
Aggressive is always an easy way to score points, figuratively speaking.
Yep.
Everybody's always talking about being more aggressive. I mean, I'm not inclined to take any credit away from McDermott as a defensive coach. Yes, the playoffs. Those are elite quarterbacks. I mean, Bo Nix isn't really, but more for the most part. And it didn't happen. But they were consistently between good to excellent. Almost pretty much the whole time he was here. Almost a decade.
I think the thing that gives you, like the point the caller's making, I don't know if Brady exactly said this, but if he didn't, it's easy, I think, to think from his perspective as someone who's been calling plays for the Bills for, 2.5 seasons, basically. What's harder for you to deal with, even with Josh Allen as your quarterback? The team that you know what they're going to do, and it's mostly just stay back and be safe. And we're really putting McDermott in a small box here because this year especially, they did much more. They did a lot more different than they had, I think, in prior years, as far as like scheming and blitzing and whatnot. But still, the point holds. You want to believe Brady is telling you, as a play caller, I have a harder time with a team that's going to put me that's going to mix me up, that's coming after me and is being aggressive. So if you want to take that to mean that that's how they're going to play, I think that's your starting point. I think he's informing you that that's what is the harder thing to solve.
And the Bills did do a lot of that against Denver. I mean, they were aggressive in that game anyway. Thanks, Dennis. Next up, Sal Capacio. This is WGR.
Earlier today, the Buffalo Bills held the introductory press conference for head coach Joe Brady. He, along with general manager Brandon Beane, spoke with the media for a little under an hour. If you do want to hear that, it's up at the Odyssey app or our website, WGR550.com. But one of the things talked about were the expectations coming into the Bills' job, and Brady says he's ready to face them head on.
I didn't take this job to shy away from expectations. I'm embracing it, I'm understanding it, and I'm meeting it full on. I know what I signed up for, and we're going to embrace it because no one rises to low expectations. I want what the city wants.
Brady has hit the ground running. Earlier this afternoon, Ian Rappaport reporting the Bills are bringing in Steelers offensive line coach Pat Meyer to serve in the same role. We've also heard from quarterback Josh Allen. Got a bit of an injury update from him, confirming he had a procedure done on his foot, but should ultimately not affect him for any of the Bills' offseason programs. And then an injury update on tight end Dalton Kincaid. He is not going to have surgery on his knee after dealing with a PCL injury for most of this season. And staying with Kincaid, a little bit of a bonus news. Brandon Beane did hint at the team picking up his fifth-year option. Do stay tuned. We'll get more on what we heard today. Sal Capacio joining the show next. To the Sabres, pregame coming up in just about an hour for a 7 p.m. puck drop. Sabres hosting the LA Kings. Buffalo looking for their fifth win in a row. Some roster notes. Goaltender Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is going to be out at least a week after picking up that lower body injury against Toronto. In net tonight, it is expected to be Alex Lyon, and he goes for a team record 10th straight win. And then around the rest of the league, a very packed night tonight. 14 other games, some key matchups to keep an eye on. Also at 7, the Bruins host the Flyers. Colorado are in Montreal versus the Canadiens. 7:30, the Red Wings host the Capitals. 8 p.m., Panthers in St. Louis versus the Blues. And then the night wraps up at 10. Maple Leafs, they're out west to take on Seattle. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. Momentous day, this day, every time when the Bills introduce a new head coach. This happens to be Joe Brady, who was already on their staff. It's been a while since the Bills have gone that route. But we know that they have, and Brady met with the media earlier today. Sal Capacio was seen at the scene and joins us now here on the West Her Hotline. I liked Sal's question, I think maybe the best of all the questions.
Oh, look, all right.
Because he caught the continuing use of the word alignment, which is just not like a typical press conference football word,
right?
Unless we're talking about actually lining up on the field. This emphasis, point of emphasis in 2026, alignment. Sal, were you satisfied with how that was answered for you?
I mean, I wish I would have got more like in depth. Like you always want more, like give me the juicy stuff, right? From that aspect. Sure, I understand. I understand why they answered it the way they did, and to the degree of satisfaction that I could expect, I guess I would say yes. And you know, I said to you guys, expect to hear the word collaboration a lot. We didn't get that as much. We did get that a couple times, I think, today. It was alignment was the key buzz phrase, but a word. But that really stemmed from last week and hearing that. And every time we had heard things about Sean McDermott and from the press conference last Wednesday, and then Joe Brady getting hired through the national media, that he understands how alignment of the personnel and coaching and all that kind of stuff. I think that word was used several times, so I wanted to kind of ask about that. What does that look like? What does that mean? You know, it's one thing to have your own perception of what we all think it means, but can you explain to fans what does it mean when you're in alignment? And the first thing that Joe Brady said was, well, it doesn't mean you always agree, which is right. And Sean McDermott would always say that. You can have healthy disagreements. You want to have that. But it's really about being in alignment on kind of every little piece of how you want to do the operation, even not just player personnel. It's how to conduct practices. It's how to manage injuries. That's where they took the answer. I was more focused on the personnel part, but I appreciate and respect that they were talking more about every single part of the organization and being in alignment.
How much, if at all, were you holding your breath when Brady started talking? Because I thought for a few minutes there, maybe a few minutes is too much, but he was really emotional and was able to control it. And I sympathize because my emotions get the better of me often enough. I'm sure plenty of our audience has heard it. And I don't just mean yelling and screaming. I mean getting really emotional, like crying, trying to talk about something that means a lot to me or I know means a lot to the audience or whatever. And I was watching like, oh, dude, please just get through it. Like, don't cry thanking these people for giving you this job, because I feel like we'll never stop talking about that if that happens. And he managed to. I just wonder what it was like being in the room for that.
Yeah, Joe is a really high energy guy. We've talked about that positivity. It didn't surprise me that he got a little emotional like that, pretty emotional like that. But at the same time, when that starts happening, you start to wonder, like, okay, like, is he going to be able to kind of get to everything else we need to get to here? Because it could be pretty overwhelming here in this room. And I felt that weight as well. But, I also thought, I'll say this, he came off very genuine to me.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm going to say it this way to people.
Right.
That's right.
If
right.
you
I'm going to say this to people.
Walk
because,
that line that tightly, right? If you can be, like, on the verge but not let it get away from you, I think that comes across as sincere, and that's to his credit.
100%. And I would say to a lot of people, this was their first real introduction, no pun intended, to Joe Brady, right? I mean, like, how many people maybe you have a fan out there that watches the Monday press conference via the Bills Twitter feed, right? Where Joe Brady, once a week, we talk to Joe Brady and Bobby Babich. That's it. You don't really hear from him ever other than that, maybe during the offseason a couple times. The majority of fans, really, of Bills fans they don't really hear from Joe Brady. They might hear a soundbite from him. They might see something on social media. I've been in the same room with Joe Brady many times. I've listened to Joe Brady. I've talked with him. I've had conversations on the record, off the record, in these rooms, in different settings with him. And I can tell you what I saw today from Joe Brady was Joe Brady. He was genuine. That was him up there. And he is not the most polished speaker in the world, but I thought today he was even more polished than I've ever really kind of heard him, because I thought that genuineness of him came through very well.
I said earlier, it doesn't surprise me listening today that he would do a good interview. I mean, interviewing for the job.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's tall, he's got that advantage, he's got the good name, the good face, the whole thing. But he's also, like, he sort of says everything to every question, kind of covers all the bases. I think he just intuitively knows to do that. And, I mean, that's not enough when you're in that setting, I'm sure. There's probably a combination here, Sal. If I'm a candidate and this is like the pinnacle of my career, if I get this job, not only is it I'm in the club forever, but I have Alan, I've got a great setup here. There's probably a combination of this is what I want to do and this is what I know you want me to do, because they're familiar with each other, and some kind of maybe make some compromises with yourself, like, well, whatever it is, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday preparation stuff, when they eat, all the kind of details we never talk about. I think he probably knew his audience. Alan's in the room, the owner, the GM, and was able to, I don't mean this as a negative, but was able to really ultimately tell them what they wanted to hear.
Sure. I thought it was interesting on this note, Mike, and because what you said is probably right in that regard. I don't think, again, and I know you're not saying this, I don't think it was anything fake. He's being genuine. But the things that they wanted to hear are part of why he got the job, right? Because he says things that resonate with them. There's no doubt. And what I thought was really interesting, and I didn't know this going into this process and learning about this, was Brandon Beane saying that when they interviewed Joe Brady, they basically made it as let's say we never now you can't really do this because you do know the person, right? But we want to start from scratch and as if we've never met you. We don't know you. You're coming in here blind and we don't know anything about you, just like everybody else. Like, to me, my perception of these interviews is when you bring in somebody who's already been on your staff for the last 4 years, been your offensive play caller for the last 2+ years, they come in, you're kind of starting from there, which is, okay, let's build upon what you've learned this. What would you change? You know this. What do you think about this? That's not what they did here. What they did here was say, hey, your name's Joe Brady. My name's Brandon Beane. Nice to meet you. Let's talk about you as a football coach. Where do you come from? What do you believe in? I thought that was super interesting, actually. And listen, Brandon Beane doubled down on that later on when he spoke with us after by saying, like, he learned so much about like the process of this, because he had only been, this is his first time doing this, right, as a GM. He had been in the room a couple of times when it had happened before, but not, or you shouldn't even say been in the room. He was on the outside of the process a little bit, helping out in Carolina. But this is the first time. So he wanted to make sure he did it this way because he wanted to learn as much as he could about the process and the candidates.
Yeah, I wondered if that got. So are you married? Do you have kids? Like, like how far did that extend? Did they?
Right.
Did they go the whole way on that? Yeah, I mean, interesting. I think we should talk about, because I don't know how much it's only been on social media, really. The second round of conversation you got to have with Brady with some reporters after he came back out, and that's where I didn't know this until you texted me and Zach told me kind of simultaneously, like this Keon Coleman comments and all this. Mike and I were like, I don't remember from the news conference when did this happen. So I don't know, that was that the most notable thing that came out of that part, because I thought it was pretty emphatic. It was more than just, he's on the team, he's a valued guy, we got to see if we can develop him, yada, yada. I mean, you got Brady telling you he stood on the table for him, and that being his head coach is going to be the best thing that ever happened to the guy.
He did. It was notable, and obviously, I think there was a question about Keon during the press conference as well. I think if I remember right, I can't. No, maybe to Josh. Right, there was a question about Josh. And there was the question there. So I can't remember about if it was the press conference itself. But yes, both gave high endorsements to him. And what happened was, just so everybody understands, we found out today we would get Josh Allen after the main press conference. They said, okay, he's going to be available as well. Remember, we had been told last week Josh would speak to the media once the hire was made. Well, that was today. We knew that. We saw him on crutches when he walked into the press conference, and then, again, he met with us in the media room. Well, then we're all done, and a lot of us in the media are sitting around and, doing the transcripts and writing our stories. And then Joe Brady came back out, and this was kind of not known that this was going to happen, and he came back out so he could meet with us individually more, to have a little more one-on-one time, if you will, even though there's, 20 people in the room for the local media. And one of the questions was about Keon and what was said last week. And yes, he backed him and said the best thing for Keon Coleman is me being his head coach. And the way I took that was, I know what he can do. I have seen it. I wanted him on this team, and I'm going to do everything I can in my power to see him succeed. Like, that's the way I took this. And I would also say, though, that Joe Brady, since the day that he got here, every single week he talked to us, including today and up through today, he always has taken accountability for what has gone wrong with the offense and saying, it's on me, I have to do a better job. Even so much as questions about, hey, the last couple of years, your offense 3 years has had the ball late and not able to score a touchdown in the playoffs. And he takes accountability for that. What can I do better? I didn't do enough in those situations. So to me, what he's doing is the same thing here with Keon, which is, I'm going to take accountability and say, I'm the guy in charge of the offense. He hasn't developed the right way. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to see this through because I'm his head coach, and we're going to do this together. That's the way I took that.
That's the kind of answer that will come to bug me about him, because, just be a little bit specific. When coaches say, it's up to me, what's an example of how it's up to you? Like, what would he have done differently in Denver? Any particular thing would be interesting to know that goes beyond just, my fault. Because you can be sincere about that, but it really doesn't do anything for us. It's just like you're telling us that you recognize that you're not, blameless in any kind of situation. He did go as far today. I mean, this was an eye roll for me to say, when they play well, it's because of them. When we fail, it's because of me. Like, oh, geez, really? I do like Sal. I think we all did, that he brought up McDermott and talked about him the way that he did. That was overdue from last week. And again, sincere, genuine, no reason not to think so today. So at least that was covered today. So that's good.
Yeah, for sure. He really gave a lot of praise to Sean McDermott. Said he learned a lot under him. He thanked him for the opportunity to, have him in Buffalo and learned under him. And he said he has a lot of love for him. And the foundation that Sean McDermott set here is real, and it matters. And obviously he has his own vision and his new vision, his new mentality, all those kinds of things. But a lot of what he learned to get to this point was through Sean McDermott. He knows that a lot of these players on this team love Sean McDermott, and they've been here through Sean McDermott and his culture, and that's going to be important to him to make sure that he connects with those players to know that that is all still very real and a part of what they're about.
I want to ask you a follow-up on this. I don't know if you would say the same here. When he was starting to lose his composure early on, getting choked up, the room kind of clapped for him. I'm guessing it wasn't the media doing that, but the players who were there, or family, staff, what have you. Then when he got done with McDermott, he paused, and I thought there would be applause again, like that the players or the people who worked there would have joined him in that mess. And there was dead silence. I don't know if that is interesting to you. When he talked about defense, maybe this is the most we got, and I don't know how much it was, about him having a different vision. I'm curious for what you thought about how he talked about wanting to be different on defense.
Versatile like they are on offense. That was kind of what stood out. But I think the Bills have always had the philosophy of being versatile. At least I will say this, and I think Sean McDermott does too. I shouldn't say it's only Bean. I do believe that Brandon Bean has made it a point to get versatile players. You guys would probably agree. You go back to, positionless, right? We've talked about this for many years. Like, it's become positionless. There's no more free and strong safety. These guys can play in the box. They can play center field. You can play nickel. You can play outside. Michael Hoyt can play on the edge. You can play linebacker. So I do think that the Bills have had this vision anyway under this regime to be very versatile. Joe Brady backed that up today with how he wants the defense to operate, which is to be versatile in all situations with personnel and be able to, have the ability to have guys play in any situation just by putting them in different spots. So I think that was a bit of a theme that came out of today. Aggressiveness, obviously, but I didn't need him to tell me aggressive because I've seen the names that have been reported. We've talked about this. Jim Leonard, Raheem Morris, right? Jim Schwartz, not necessarily reported, but I think that that's a name that could resonate. And to me, that is just screaming the Bills want to be a more aggressive team schematically than they've been on defense over the last 9 years.
Yeah, any idea on a timeline there? I imagine they don't want to drag their feet for too long. The Schwartz thing still could be complicated if they end up actually being interested in him because of his situation with Cleveland.
Also, he left here in somewhat similar circumstances when they hired Rex Ryan, did he not? Like, was he equally miffed by that? I mean, maybe that's I don't know how he feels about the possible return. Sorry,
it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, time heals some things, right? I mean,
he wants to work.
Right. I mean, we'll see. And it's a good question, but Aaron Kromer was here under Rex, and then he came back under Sean McDermott. Not saying that it was the same situation, but guys do leave and then come back in different situations.
No, right. Schwartz had been a previous NFL head coach, though, and they went and hired a defensive coach over him, and their defense was great when he was here, mostly. So
yeah, for sure. And they did switch. I mean, I don't know about scheme necessarily, but they hired who did bring me back now, Mike? Schwartz was under Marone, right?
Yeah, and they were great. And when Rex showed up, he said, we're going to be better. They were second or third, and we'll be first or something.
I think that's obviously, and I'm sure you're right. Your point is right. You leave because, okay, I didn't get the head coaching job or whatever, but obviously once Rex comes in, he's not going to keep on Jim Schwartz.
Right.
That's clashing of egos and defensive styles,
for sure.
right?
Mike
no
Pettine
doubt about that. Mike Pettine. I was thinking about him today, too. Okay, so no timeline necessarily. What he did say was, I don't want to rush it. I want to get the right guy, right? It's more important to get the right guy, but we all recognize here time is of the essence. I mean, we see what's happening. Guys are getting jobs. These jobs are filling up around the league. We don't know the situation with Jim Schwartz. It feels to me like there's going to be some sort of divorce there with him in Cleveland in some way, shape, or form. Does that take a team come calling and trading him a draft pick? I don't know. Does that take them just saying, okay, that's it. We don't want a disgruntled employee here. You're out of your contract or whatever. You can buy yourself out. I don't know. Whatever that is, it feels like it. I still think Jim Leonard is squarely in the mix, but now he's interviewing in Baltimore. Raheem Morris's name is out there. We'll see where that goes. That being said, the Bills did hire today. It looks like, I don't think it's official from the team yet. It has been reported they are going to hire Pat Meyer as their offensive line coach. So that's one that they get, brought in that's very important because Aaron Kromer did an excellent job, I thought, with this particular offensive line. And if you look at Pat Meyer's history, he did work with Joe Brady, but what I'm told is really a big reason why he is being hired is because he worked under Aaron Kromer here in Buffalo, and a lot of his teaching and a lot of his style is from Cromer and will translate well to how the Bills' current offensive line has been taught, if that makes sense, over the last few years. So that there's some familiarity, if not continuity, with that style. Even though it's not the same person, it's the same way of teaching and language.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I might guess it happens really soon. Being said about, well, maybe in name Clint Kubiak, other candidates that are not available.
Right.
That he didn't think it was fair to anybody. To the coach having to wait to put a staff together and to the team. So maybe they move fast here.
I agree. And I respect that point. It's probably true. Now, if you're Clint Kubiak and you get the Raiders job, after the Super Bowl, then you are behind, you're behind, hiring. But again, without even having an interview, that puts you even a little further behind, and maybe he can start to put his staff together. We've seen that before where we know guys are in the Super Bowl coaching, but they're taking a job. In this case, it would have been you can't even talk to the Bills. How do they even know they truly want you until that happens? And I think that does create a little bit of a challenging circumstance, if you will. And yeah, it's probably not fair, but a lot of these guys, look, I don't think Joe Brady's going to get probably everybody he wants. He just got the job. There's people that are on staff. Sean McDermott had to wait a year. Sean McDermott's first year as a coach, he had Rick Dennison as his offensive coordinator. He had Juan Castillo as his offensive line coach, who was a defensive coordinator at one point. He had a lot of guys on staff that, Leslie Frazier, obviously, I think he was very smart to hire him. He had a very veteran coaching staff because he wanted a lot of guys around him that, had been there before. But it took him a year or two to really get guys that he wanted on staff.
I wonder, I've been thinking about this since Sunday. Brady did the NFC Championship game, so he's in Seattle. He's a part owner of the Raiders. I wonder if he found some time alone with Kubiak to sort of, hey, so what I'm getting to here is maybe even though they're behind timeline-wise and everybody's taking jobs, if the fix is in, maybe Kubiak knows he's going there and can tell guys, like, don't take another job. You're coming with me to Vegas.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all if that's the case, and we don't know these contract situations, but absolutely, Bulldog. I mean, the coaching life. I think about these guys sometimes and just they're such at the whim of what happens above them, right? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know this when I'm thinking today about Bobby Babich, who's been here for 9 years under Sean McDermott. His dad's a lifetime coach who just retired a few years ago, and I just found myself thinking about Bobby today, and like, I don't know this. I haven't talked to Bobby, but did he know? Did he not know? Was it like, hey, Sean McDermott gets fired, and then it's like, well, guess what? That means we're going to go in a totally new direction on defense. Go find a job. I mean, that's the life that these coaches live a lot of times.
Well, there should be more news soon enough on the staff stuff. Sal, thanks for this. We'll talk again soon.
All right, guys, you got it. Thanks.
That is Sal Capacio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Leading receiver on that first Sean McDermott team that Sal talked about with reference to the assistant coaches, with 27 catches. Wide receiver. Most on the bill. Tied for most on the Bills with another wide receiver, but I'm giving this guy the nod because he had more yards. 17 Bills.
Kelvin Benjamin. No, he was late. He was midseason.
6 games. 16 catches in 6 games.
Yeah. I've got a couple of guys in my head here.
You're going to get it.
Robert Foster.
No. Deontay Thompson.
Oh, darn it. Caught that big one from Joe Webb in the snow game.
Tied with Zay Jones. I thought you might guess Zay Jones.
Okay. No.
They both had 27 catches, most among receivers on the 17 Bills. Charles Clay, way more. LaShawn McCoy, more still.
Is there someone named Andre Holmes there?
Yes, there is.
That's the guy I always think of because he made a catch in a game against the Raiders that year that was like it was a big first down. Maybe it was a long, like third and, in the teens or something.
Home game.
And home game. He caught a ball and got worked through the middle of the field and ended up out of bounds on the Bills sideline. And the whole bench ran over to him after this play. It's one of these random, not scoring, not that important a play that I remember because of the reaction. The players just couldn't wait to get off the bench to let him know that they appreciated it.
Who led the 2017 Bills in receiving touchdowns with 3?
Mike Tolbert.
Andre Holmes.
Oh, darn it!
3 led the team alone.
Wow.
Wow. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, your calls next at 803-0550. Sabres hockey tonight, pregame at 6. This is WGR.
Earlier today, the Buffalo Bills held the introductory press conference for head coach Joe Brady. He, along with general manager Brandon Beane, did speak at length with the media, just under about an hour or so. If you do want to catch the entire interview, you can listen back to that over on our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. But one thing that was talked about was the expectations coming into this Bills job with all the past success. Brady says he is ready to face all of that head on.
I didn't take this job to shy away from expectations. I'm embracing it, I'm understanding it, and I'm meeting it full on. I know what I signed up for, and we're going to embrace it because no one rises to low expectations. I want what the city wants.
Brady is hitting the ground running, as earlier this afternoon, Ian Rappaport did report the Bills are bringing in Steelers offensive line coach Pat Meyer to serve in the same role. Over to the Sabres, pregame in just about a half hour for a 7 p.m. puck drop. Sabres are hosting the Kings tonight. Buffalo looking for a 5th win in a row. And some roster notes going into tonight. Goaltender Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is expected to be out at least a week after picking up that lower body injury against Toronto. And then in net tonight for the Sabres, it is expected to be Alex Lyon, who is going for a team record 10th straight win. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
He will come back from that. I'm not going to give up on Zero. He's got too much ability, and I will not give up on him. We're gonna work tirelessly, him and me, and as well as everybody else in this building, to make sure that whenever we step foot on the field, that we're going to find ways to win football games, and he's going to be a part of that.
Josh Allen today. To your calls in a moment, 803-0550. Sabres and Kings tonight, pregame at 6. Kevin Weeks just tweeted, per sources as of today, I'm told the following have expressed interest in Artemi Panarin: Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Jose, Vegas, Dallas, Utah, Colorado, Minnesota, Seattle, Toronto, Carolina, Washington, Tampa Bay, Islanders.
Not a Buffalo to be had there.
It's half the league. Couldn't you just stop at that?
It's half the
you
league.
have to name all these
it's
teams?
Half the league. Does the tweet have half his head? Because he normally, his it's a bit now, I think. Like maybe one time or maybe a few times mistakenly, he takes these pictures of himself and it's only like half his face.
No, he's not in the picture.
He's not
Panarin
in the picture.
is.
Oh, okay.
But it's the full Panarin head.
I often see Kevin Weeks with breaking news, and it's like a selfie, but it's from his upper lip up or something. Like he just takes these goofy photos that I'm assuming are on purpose now. But anyway,
Panarin head.
No Sabres.
Panarin head. Try the soup. Who doesn't love Panarin head? Sorry. No Sabres. Right.
Yeah.
Leafs.
Sure, that sounds good.
I mean, list the Rangers. Why not? Why don't you? Right. You're already on the Rangers.
Right.
The Rangers have not expressed interest in Panarin.
I did read today. Now, we had late in yesterday's show, Zach had that they were holding him out. They played the Islanders last night. He's not going to play until the Olympic break gets here. So whatever that is, 3, 4, 5 more games. And attached to that, I saw that he now, I don't know if it's because of that or maybe this was just going to be the case all along. If he's going to agree to a trade, he wants a new contract with it. So...
Okay, that's how that goes.
That is how that usually goes. And that's going to be what? I mean, he's 34, but he's like a year removed from 112 points, I think. I think season before last, he maybe had 112 points, if I remember correctly. So that's $10 million.
One of those Western teams will do
deal.
it. One of those Western teams,
Yep.
Those highfalutin Western teams.
Colorado will
Dallas.
find a way to fit him in.
Yeah, Vegas.
Him on the Colorado Avalanche.
They're just going to somebody will do it out there. That's what I predict. Let's go to Mike here. Hi, Mike.
Yes, good afternoon. I guess I want to start by saying it's just kind of ironic that Brady is replacing the coach that I think he had a big responsibility in him getting fired in the first place. I mean, a prime example of this. I'd like to talk about the first downs, his play calling. I mean, a prime example would be the overtime against the Broncos. I mean, They get the ball and they run it 3 straight times on first down. They're constantly chasing the sticks. I mean, has anybody brought that up? I mean, I'm sure people have, but it's like I just don't understand how this guy can get a head coaching position when his first downs have put this team in jeopardy for the most part of the whole. I mean, if you look at their season, it took to the second half. I mean, yeah, some of this was because of the run defense. I get that. But it took to the second half for this team to really get moving in a lot of these games this year. And I don't know. I'd like to find out. I don't know if there's statistics out there as far as teams that have had the most, second and 8s or second and 7s. I don't know if there's stats out there. I'm like, but I'm almost guarantee you that the Bills have to be number 1 in that stat.
Well, I think it's probably important to point out that they led the league in rushing. He's not expecting 2-yard gains on those plays, but that's what he got. So in that example, I mean, I think this mostly is fair. There's some fairness to this, but and it was their last offensive possession of the year, so it's not like it's any other drive. They start at their 7-yard line. I mean, teams are going to run it there often. It's overall the premise is lean into Allen, and they didn't do that, and some of that is personnel related, and some of it isn't. So fair enough.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to watch how the conversation evolves from now into the summer and, leading up to September. I'll bet it won't take long. It just depends on how optimistic you want to be, and maybe how much you believe, if you believe it at all, that McDermott was sort of hovering around or over Brady, and that influenced how he chose to approach that drive, any possession, and leaning into being such a run-heavy team. The Bills were, I do know this, I don't know about 2nd and 8, that I'm sure that's out there. Everything is out there. They did run the ball on first down, I think, more than any team in the league this year. And then, again, it worked for them very well. I mean, they led the league in rushing. They don't have a lot of great receivers. But I think if you want to believe in this, that it's going to be different, then I think what you want to believe is that Joe Brady, without having to answer to a head coach, as the head coach himself, will throw more on first down. Will be more, push the ball down the field. Let's use this guy that we've got here, this weapon that we've got. But I don't know that. I mean, a lot of what they evolved into offensively, I think, fit with what was happening in the league, how defenses were playing. That stuff was not – a lot of teams that were explosive 4 years ago were not explosive the last 2 years, or as explosive. See the Chiefs of Kansas City as a sterling example. What they never did was find a pivot to be able to run the ball with any effectiveness. It's one of the reasons why they didn't make the playoffs this year. So – I don't know. I'm saying a lot of things here. I'm doing what Brady does, or what you say Brady does. I'm giving you every answer, but I don't know if it'll be a lot different just because McDermott's gone.
There it is. Rocco is next. Hi, Rocco.
Hi, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Just still on the receiver topic, which probably will be lasting throughout the entire draft process.
Like it or not.
Yeah. Just spitballing with a couple names that will most likely be available, like Tyreek Hill and or Brandon Ayuk being potentially free agents, and perhaps DJ Moore being available or made available by the Chicago Bears without having to give up too much draft capital. And of course, I don't know anything about the cap or how much money or how much money has to be moved in order to retrieve or procure these players. But a few names that might not cost the Bills much in draft capital. So those are my thoughts. And
okay.
I'll hang up and listen to you guys. Yep.
Thank you. I guess I have to admit I'm not there yet. Like, I'm not up to speed on free agents to be. I mean, I'd have to look each one of these up. Tyreek Hill seems like we know that's a name that maybe there's a move there. He seems to always want he always seems to want to be moved. Some turnover there. Maybe he ends up being available, but there'd be a market. And I don't know about DJ Moore. They did a lot of winning, and he came on late in the season for the Bears. Who else? Ayuk. What is that? Like, he just got basically banished from the Niners.
I don't know.
After a big contract. So, yep, there'll be names. We'll take a break. Sabres and Kings.
I don't want Tyreek Hill anywhere near my football team. I really feel like this is one of these moments where it should be allowed for us to swear, because I want to say, like,
you didn't get the memo?
I want to say something.
You didn't hear?
Pointedly.
You didn't hear about the change?
You better get to the break.
Change in philosophy?
You better get to
the rules? Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Pre-game at 6 for Sabres Kings here on WGR.